The Empire War Machines. First up, the Steam Tank. From great range, a steam tank launches powerful shots of armor-piercing cannon fire with tremendous stopping power. Steam tanks are monstrous, smoke-belching war machines that rumble towards the enemy and fire deadly cannonballs from their steam-powered guns to crush all those that stand against the Empire. They were first designed by the famed inventor Leonardo da Miragliano, who adapted the use of dwarven steam technology to power the pistons and gears that drive the wheels of the steam tank forward. In times of war, the Imperial Engineers School may sanction the use of these rare and valuable machines should the fate of the Empire of Man hang in the balance. The steam tank is powered by a pressurized boiler that siphons steam through pipes and pistons. All existing tanks were designed by the famed genius Chilean inventor Leonardo da Miragliano. The steam tanks are the most confounding puzzle known to the Imperial Engineers School, for after the inventor's death, the secrets of their construction were lost with him, and engineers have so far been unable to successfully construct any new steam tanks. Only 12 tanks were built, all with varying configurations. Only 8 steam tanks remain, the lost 4 having been destroyed during testing or in battle. The war engines are somewhat unreliable, and only rarely can all 8 be persuaded to run for a single battle. As the steam tank is brought to bear, the advance of these iron-clad behemoths is terrifying to behold, as arrows ricochet from the armored hull and enemy warriors are crushed beneath its immense bulk. During battle, the tank is commanded and driven by a senior engineer who manages and directs the steam from the boiler to the tank's mechanisms. Should too much pressure be allowed to build in the boiler, it may rupture with catastrophic effects. The most common steam tank variant is armed with a steam-powered cannon in its hull and a steam gun mounted in its turret. Though the steam cannon is smaller than the great cannons used by the Imperials, the maneuverability and protection of the steam tank more than compensates for the main cannon's comparatively shorter range and diminished firepower. The different variants. First, the Alter Kamerad, or Old Fellow in Reichsspiel, a configuration armed with a hull-mounted steam-operated Hell Blaster volley gun and a turret-mounted steam gun. Sigmar's Hammer, a configuration without armaments, used as a ram. Unfehlbar, or Unerring in Reichsspiel, an open-topped configuration, armed with a mortar and 2 swivel guns. Von Zeppel, named after the designing engineer. A configuration without hull-mounted armament, carrying a platform, crammed with engineers carrying experimental weapons like the Hochland long rifle, a blunderbuss, a repeater handgun, a special form of halberd, a massive morning star, and a man-catcher. And now onto the most famous steam tanks. The Conqueror, one of the first steam tanks built, its hull striking ceremony held in the year 2050 IC. Other steam tanks with the same armament, the main cannon and steam gun, are often referred to as Conqueror class. The Deliverance entered service in the year 2035 IC, and its many battlefield performances have made it legendary. Deliverance caused untold carnage to the foe during the Great War against Chaos by newly elected Emperor Magnus the Pious. The Emperor's Wrath. Recently been to the Engineers College in Altdorf for overhauling. It has been repaired and refitted back to a Conqueror class configuration. Now returned to active duty, the Emperor's Wrath has been instrumental in aiding Graf Boris Todbringer's ongoing battles in the Drakvald forest. The Miragliano, piloted by von Streihof. The Indomitable, destroyed by Dragon Skullex the Great in the Battle of Volganhof. And the all-reliable, hastily repaired tank that single-handedly held back a Chaos Horde during the Battle of Kriegfield Castle. The War Altar of Sigmar. The War Altar of Sigmar is a magnificent and awe-inspiring golden battle altar that invokes the faith of Sigmar to all those loyal sons of the Empire answering the call to war. Commissioned by Magnus the Pious after his ascension, the War Altar is a colossal chariot, ornate and gleaming with a towering effigy of a golden griffon carried upon it, crafted by the most skilled artisans in the Empire. This statue was ceremoniously blessed in the Temple of Sigmar in Altdorf with the blood of the Grand Theogenist and Emperor Magnus themselves. The Golden Griffon has thus ever been a source of great, and some say divine, aura of power. An Archlector of Sigmar can draw forth this power with the sheer conviction of his faith and unleash a blinding white light. For creatures that are bound to the mortal plane by means of dark magic, this light is an anathema to them, and they are utterly scorched by its touch, bursting into flames and crumbling into dust in but an instant. Against the forces of chaos, where the danger of spiritual malaise and moral corruption is as great a danger as death, the Grand Theogenist may deem it necessary to unleash the War Altar to battle once again. He may trust this solemn duty to one of his trusted Archlectors under his command, or in times of a particular crisis, ride it to war himself. The sight of the altar inspires acts of heroic bravery in the forces of the Empire, steeling their resolves to face the manifold horrors that the world throws at them. The War Altar has seen battle on hundreds of battlefields and bears the scars of enemy blows as proudly as any soldier of Sigmar. It is the duty of each Grand Theogenist to tend to his holy relic. They renew scrolls of benedictions, repair sigils of faith, and attach new artifacts and holy icons to the War Altar's redoubtable frame. These modifications are made completely at the discretion of the incumbent Grand Theogenist. As such, the War Altar has reflected the personality of each man who held that grand title over the centuries. In the time of Grand Theogenist Richter, a fiery orator who sought to bring the light of Sigmar to the darkest corner of the Empire, the war altar sported a pair of burning braziers. Volkmar the Grim instead affixed the mighty horn of Sigismund to the chariot's sturdy carriage, so that his enemies would tremble at his approach. Whatever improvements are made, the golden griffon mounted atop the war altar remains untouched, forever standing proudly as a symbol of the Empire's might. The Luminark of Hysh. Each orb is infused with the essence of one of the 8 magical winds, and it is even whispered that the portion of Lord Teclis's own power is bound within every one of them. The orbs of Hysh radiate a blinding white light so intense that they have been mistaken for miniature suns. The Luminark of Hysh is a large and complex arcane battle altar created by the wizards of the Light Order to be used as a potent magical war machine. Within each battle altar lies one of the legendary Orbs of Sorcery, an ancient magical artifact that is imbued with one of the 8 winds of magic. The orb that is embedded within the center of the machine acts as the catalyst, drawing upon the magical energies of Hysh to summon a devastating ray of soul fire known famously as Solheim's Bolt of Illumination. Each Luminark is crewed by several acolytes of the Light Order, who oversee the well-being of the machine while a head wizard directs the beam. Though slow at first, the dim light within the machine will eventually grow, increasing in intensity and power, until so much energy is charged within the machine that it emits a blinding light which leaps through the Luminarium's arcane optics, manifesting in a destructive beam of soul fire so intense that it could vaporize anything in its path. As the energy is being released, an excess of light energy would leak out of the machine, creating a shimmering aura that grants those warriors nearby with magical protection. Warriors so blessed with this magical protection have found enemy sword strokes turned aside by a magical force, and enemy arrows suddenly combusting in midair moments before impact. The Light College has very precious few of these Luminarks left, as these machines need an orb of sorcery in order to function properly. Such safeguarding of these machines is often commonplace, as deploying even a single one of these marvels into battle provides an ultimate dilemma within the Light Order's hierarchy. Not only are the orbs used as a magical weapon, they are also a critical component within the Light College's magical security system. It is the duty of the Light Order to safeguard the treasure trove of ancient and evil artifacts that is buried within the vaults beneath the Light College. The removal of an orb to be used for a Luminark decreases the vault's magical potency, which would risk the evil hidden away beneath the college to slither away into the darkness and bring about another doom for all mankind. The Celestial Hurricanum. The Celestial Hurricanum is a large and complex arcane battle altar created by the wizards of the Celestial College to be used as a potent magical war machine. The Celestial Hurricanum is bolted within a massive wheeled chariot, pulled by 2 powerful Imperial warhorses, and watched over by the acolytes of the Celestial Patriarch. The orb that is embedded within the center of the machine acts as the catalyst, drawing upon the magical energies of Azir to summon a magical storm known simply as the Storm of Shemtek. As the orb begins its manifestation, a very weak and chilling wind quietly swirls around the machine, growing in size and tempo until it eventually grows into a thunderous hurricane. As the acolytes oversee the device, the head wizard would enchant the spells needed to direct the magical energies towards the enemy. The magical properties of the Storm of Shemtek are of a unique nature, for the orb has the mystical ability to alter weather patterns in the sky and shower the enemy with a barrage of lightning bolts or a thunderous hail of massive icicle shards that can shear the flesh from the bone. On rare occasions, if the acolytes perform the spell correctly and achieve a perfect alignment, the machine has the power to unleash a fiery comet streaking through the sky and make it slam directly within the very heart of the enemy horde. As the device continues its murderous barrage of carnage, some magical energies would leak out of the machine, often afflicting Imperial troops with unnatural visions of the imminent future. These small magical gifts have given some Imperial soldiers precise predictions of enemy movements, allowing them to easily dodge blows that would cleave a man in two. When not used for battle upon an arcane altar, these orbs are used by the wizards as a means to calculate and observe natural phenomenon within the universe. The orb allows the wizards to see the constellations much more clearly, giving the wizards the ability to correctly interpret the many futures the Empire has within its long, hard destiny. Such predictions have many times before saved the Empire, and in fact, the entire old world, from imminent doom. And it is thanks to the tireless work of these wizards that these catastrophes have been averted. And at last, the Empire War Wagon. Although gradually becoming obsolete due to considerable advances in technology, there is still something inherently reliable about a horse-drawn chariot literally brimming with death. The Empire War Wagon is an extremely heavy version of a chariot, a mobile, armored battle tower with a crew of 6 warriors, pulled by 2 sturdy warhorses. The high walls of the tower protect its crew from arrows and attacks from the ground. War wagons are a movable platform from which it either transports Empire soldiers through the battlefield or provides a vantage point for units of archers, crossbowmen, and handgunners to shoot the enemy. Its crew can also be armed with a variety of experimental weaponry from the arsenal of the Imperial Gunnery School. War wagons can install a piece of artillery into its tower, which provides the artillery with adequate speed and the Empire army with devastating firepower. As of today, the use of war wagons within the battlefields of the Empire is now obsolete. However, it has been known that war wagons are refitted to serve as either an arcane battle altar or a war altar of Sigmar. In the past, war wagons varied greatly in their size, with some war wagons being only as large as an oversized hay cart, while others were the size of an Empire fortress. As of now, War Wagons have been replaced with the newer and more heavily armored steam tank.